Okay, so it's just 1 minute past 12, so I think it's due time that we get going. So good afternoon, you're all very welcome to this year's All Ireland Undergraduate Research Conference. So my name is Claire Halpin, for those of you who I haven't met before, and I'm the chair of this year's conference. So I think at this stage I met most of the students, or liaised with them at least, most of the students that are presenting here today. And we're really excited to showcase our students' research here. So this is AICUR's 9th year, and it's its 2nd year in this online format. So I think once again this year we were blown away by the number of submissions and the number of students participating and representing a great selection of the higher education institutions across Ireland. So we received 56 submissions and are delighted to welcome students from Trinity, from UCD, from MIC, from DCU, and of course from UL. So as well as our participants, we have a lot of attendees registered, and they're representing an even broader cross-section of the higher education institutions across Ireland. In addition to this, we're welcoming a lot of family and friends of the students who are presenting here today. And I just want to take time to welcome each and every one of you. With that in mind, and I suppose taking into account the strong representation that we have, I would just encourage you all to attend as many of the conference sessions as possible, and perhaps to even consider research areas outside of your own research interests. Before I proceed any further, I just want to acknowledge that this conference definitely wouldn't have happened or wouldn't have come together without the support of the AICUR committee, the head of the CTL, and the massive coordination and work provided by the CTL administrative staff, led by Rose Archibald and supported throughout by Joan, Karen and Maura. I'm going to give a very quick synopsis of the event programme before handing over to Professor Nigel Healy to officially launch the conference. So following on, I suppose, from the official opening, we will go to our first student presentation session. We'll then regroup at 1 p.m, where we'll be joined by Dr. Gareth Maher, the Executive Director of the Global Undergraduate Awards, and Gareth will offer advice to students who may wish to enter their research in the Global Undergraduate Awards and how they can do so. So Gareth's talk will then be followed by our second student presentation session from approximately 1:15 to 1:50, at which time then you will be invited to take a 10-minute break. Following the break, we'll invite you back for our keynote address. That's not to be missed, from Sharon Cunningham, the CEO, co-founder and board manager at Shorla Oncology. Sharon was also named Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur in 2009. So if anyone is looking for an inspirational talk, I'd definitely recommend that you attend the keynote address today. We'll continue on with our third student presentation session, and then followed by a very exciting student panel, which is an inaugural event at this year's AICUR, and a discussion will take place on all things research. So that's going to wrap up today's conference. And then once again, I would encourage as many of you to attend as many sessions as you can across the day to show your support for our participating students and our very worthy guest speakers. Just one quick reminder that sessions will be recorded, and that's in order to host these presentations on our AICUR webpage afterwards. We will stop the recording in advance of Q&As just to facilitate Q&A sessions. In addition to hosting all the recorded sessions on our website, I want to, at this point, draw your attention to the pre-recorded presentations and the poster sessions from 34 students. And I would definitely encourage everyone over the next few days to take time to review the exceptional submissions that are on our website. So without further ado, I'd like to pass you over to Professor Nigel Healy, our Provost and Deputy President here in UL, to officially open AICUR 2022.
Okay, thanks very much, Claire. I'd just like to welcome everybody to the All Ireland Conference of Undergraduate Research. Obviously, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Claire Halpin as AICUR Chair, but also all the students that are presenting your research today, and to everybody who's agreed to chair the breakout sessions, the roundtable panel discussions. So I think this is a great conference, and I'm really pleased we've had such a brilliant response to this. I think, one of the most exciting things about working in a university or studying in a university is that you have the opportunity to take the skills and the knowledge that you've acquired and apply those to real world problems. And whatever our academic discipline, we're surrounded by really important research questions. How do we slow global warming? How do we reduce obesity and type 2 diabetes? How do we design batteries that can store electricity at scale? So whatever your discipline, we face these really important research questions, research challenges. You've really acquired two very important skills during your undergraduate study. The first is that you've kind of acquired the ability to understand and review what's currently known about a research problem, so that you can see where the gaps in our knowledge are. You're not coming to this from scratch. You're coming to this knowing that we already understand quite a lot about whatever problem you're interested in, but you can see perhaps where the gaps in our knowledge are. And secondly, and that's probably just as important, you've kind of learned, that you need to apply an appropriate research methodology to answer the question. There are some questions that you can answer, does smoking cause lung cancer, where you can address that by looking at quantitative data. You can, look at a control group and try and work out statistically the solution. Other questions, why do sex offenders prey on vulnerable people? That's a kind of more appropriate to a qualitative approach, where you might be interviewing in detail, in depth, offenders. So I think it's that kind of bringing the two together, your knowledge of what's already understood about a particular problem, and then the methodology by which you can answer the question. I was fortunate. I mean, not all universities now have dissertations for undergraduate students. I'm very pleased that here at UL and generally in the Irish system, we do have a very strong tradition there. I certainly, when I was an undergraduate student, I had to do a dissertation. And I've been a lifelong motorcycle enthusiast. And when I was young, one of the things I was really fascinated by was what caused the collapse of the British motorcycle industry. So back in the day, in the 1950s and 60s, companies like Triumph, Norton, BSA, and so on, they dominated the world stage. They won the TT races, they won the Formula One. They were the dominant force. And suddenly, within a few years, they collapsed and were completely obliterated by the Japanese companies, Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, and so on. So when I came to do my dissertation, I picked a topic, what caused the collapse of that industry, of that UK industry. Interestingly, when I studied the literature, there was a very strong consensus that it was caused by incompetent management, that, it was people who were in these management positions in a very class-ridden society that didn't understand the nature of the industry and the changes. But actually, when I studied it in detail, what I found was there was new theoretical approaches being developed around economies of experience, not economies of scale, but economies of experience, where if you do the same thing over and over, your unit costs decline. And then when I studied the Japanese motorcycle industry, which was magnitudes bigger than the British motorcycle industry and was making millions of small capacity machines, I could clearly establish where the cost advantage was coming from and what had led to the collapse of the industry. So, I kind of found that experience so rewarding. I actually even wrote an article about it in a motorcycle magazine, which was fantastic. But I found it so rewarding that, I was able to take the theory that I'd learned, the methodologies I'd learned, and actually apply them to something that I was really interested in and come up with new answers, even though it was a fairly modest contribution. And I think, I found that so enriching that I kind of never left university after that. I ended up doing 4 more degrees, 2 master's degrees, both had dissertations and both got published, and 2 research degrees by thesis. So I guess the lesson is here, be careful, because research is really addictive. If you enjoy it, and if you enjoy finding these answers, it can be incredibly fulfilling and incredibly enriching. So I'm really pleased to open this conference today. I think you're going to have a fantastic next few hours. Kudos to everybody who's brave enough to share their research. It's you know, coming up and sharing your research findings for the first time can be a little bit daunting, but you're in a kind of, I think you're in a safe space, a safe community of other scholars that want to hear from you and want to learn from you. So I'm sure you're going to have a fantastic afternoon. So good luck.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Thanks for that. So that brings our conference opening session to a close, and the first of our student presentation sessions will commence across our 2 breakout rooms. I've posted the links into the chat. If you're still unsure which to join, I would remind you that our programme of events is posted on the AICUR website. We've also emailed it out to everyone. If you wanted to review just over the next couple of minutes, deciding which presentation session you might join. But like I say, the links are posted in the chat just for your ease there to join these sessions. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, I would like to remind you to all the students not to be nervous. So you're amongst friends, and I suppose having had the pleasure of reviewing your work beforehand, I can assure you that you have nothing to worry about. So as Nigel referenced, we're looking forward to you closing the gaps in our knowledge, or some of the gaps in our knowledge today. So we really look forward to what you have to share. And just a reminder, if anything does go wrong, and often there are technical glitches, not to worry, we're waiting in the wings to assist you throughout the day. So all I can do is tell you to just enjoy the day and be proud of your presentation and be proud of sharing it with us, because we're proud of what you have produced and what we have seen through our submissions so far. So good luck, and we'll see you over in the breakout rooms to share your presentation. So I'm going to close this session just to allow for people to join the breakout rooms.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.